Why did they really choose? Pope Leo XIV. The untold truth. The unexpected announcement. The grand halls of the Vatican echoed with whispers. The ancient stone walls, which had seen centuries of conclaves, were once again the silent witnesses of a secretive gathering. This was no ordinary election. It was a collision of ancient traditions and silent conspiracies. The cardinals, dressed in their crimson robes, moved like shadows across the marble floors. Their faces were solemn, but beneath their pious expressions lay a simmering tension. Votes were cast, one after another, each name whispered, but the final choice struck like a thunderclap: Leo XIV. A murmur rippled through the sacred halls. Who was he? A quiet, humble bishop from an obscure diocese, rarely seen in Rome, never a contender in the minds of the powerful. His election was as unlikely as it was unsettling. Was this truly the will of the Holy Spirit? Or something far more sinister? But there was no time for questions. The smoke rose white, the bells tolled, and the world watched as the new pope stepped onto the grand balcony overlooking St. Peter's Square. Below, a sea of faces cheered. Banners waved, tears streamed, but beneath the thunderous joy was a ripple of confusion. Who was this man who now bore the weight of the keys to heaven? As Leo XIV raised his hand in blessing, his gaze swept across the sea of faithful. Did they know the truth? Did they know that his rise was not a miracle but a maneuver? Behind him, in the shadowed corridors of the Sistine Chapel, some cardinals exchanged nervous glances. They knew. They had seen the strings that had been pulled. Whispers spread like wildfire. A young deacon claimed to have seen secret meetings late at night. An aging cardinal, usually silent, spoke of an ancient order influencing the conclave. But these were just whispers, until they weren't. Leo XIV was not just a pope. He was a pawn in a game centuries in the making. But who played the game, and what was the final prize? From the moment Leo XIV ascended to the papal throne, the Vatican transformed. Cardinals who once wielded influence found their voices muted. Decisions were whispered, shadows seemed to stretch, and the air was thick with unease. The grand corridors, lined with priceless tapestries and ancient statues, now felt like a labyrinth of secrets. Priests who once laughed openly now spoke in hushed tones, glancing over their shoulders. The Pope's closest aides were replaced with unfamiliar faces, young, sharp-eyed men who seemed more like guards than clerics. Rumors swirled. Some whispered of a hidden faction within the College of Cardinals, a secretive group that had groomed Leo XIV for this role. Others spoke of a single, shadowy figure, a kingmaker who had whispered into Leo's ear long before the conclave. Papal edicts were signed without debate. Policies shifted, alliances changed, and those who questioned were subtly silenced. Even the most seasoned Vatican insiders were left guessing. Who truly commanded the Church? One day, Cardinal Giuseppe, a veteran of the Vatican's political wars, cornered one of Leo's new aides. "Who are you really?" he demanded. The aide smiled, but his eyes were cold. "We are the voice of His Holiness, and the voice does not answer questions." The whispers grew louder, turning into a storm. Was Leo XIV a puppet? Or was he playing his own dangerous game? Brother Matteo, a young archivist with a curious mind, began noticing strange patterns. Documents vanishing, old correspondences rewritten, sealed letters exchanged in the dead of night. He realized he wasn't just watching history unfold. He was standing at the edge of a conspiracy. Brother Matteo's candle flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls of the ancient archive. He was alone, or at least he thought he was. The thick scent of aged parchment surrounded him, but so did a creeping sense of dread. He had stumbled upon a strange pattern. Documents meant to be sealed were tampered with, missing letters, and ancient texts overwritten. But it was one particular document that chilled him, a letter sealed with a serpent coiled around a cross, a symbol whispered about among the old guard. The letter spoke of a plan to install a specific candidate as pope, and the description matched Leo XIV. But who orchestrated this? As he looked around, the shadows seemed to breathe. His hand trembled as he tucked the letter into his robes. Matteo was being followed. Footsteps echoed in the corridors where he walked, faces turned away when he entered a room. Once a shadowed figure loomed at the end of the hallway, vanishing when he approached. Fear gripped him. He was no longer just an archivist, he was a threat. One night while walking the silent halls, a rough hand grabbed his shoulder. "Stop searching, brother, or you will find more than you seek." The voice was calm, but the grip was iron. When Matteo turned, the man was gone. But Matteo's curiosity had turned into desperation. He needed to know the truth, and he would either expose it or become another whisper lost in the Vatican's dark corridors. Deep beneath the Sistine Chapel, hidden behind an ancient, rusted iron door that few even knew existed, lay the Forbidden Chamber. A place of shadows and whispered oaths, where the true power of the Vatican revealed itself. Only a select few cardinals held the key. They met in secrecy, faces shadowed by flickering candlelight. This was not a place of prayer. It was a council of influence where decisions were made that would shape not just the church, but the world. The walls were lined with ancient books, dusty tomes containing secrets and bargains made across centuries. Scrolls spoke of kings overthrown, revolutions funded, and heresies silenced. And in the center of the room, a great marble table bore a map of Europe, marked with red ink. Leo XIV's rise was no miracle. It was a calculated move, orchestrated by those who held the true power. But as the discussions deepened, a shadow fell over the room. A new threat was rising, and even these power brokers were beginning to lose control. Within the shadows of the Vatican's labyrinthine halls, a resistance began to stir. Cardinal Vincenzo led a small but determined group, whispering of betrayal and fighting for the soul of the church. Their meetings were held in crypts and ancient libraries, far from prying eyes. They uncovered documents, intercepted letters, and listened to whispers of a secret council that had manipulated the conclave. Vincenzo's eyes burned with determination. "We fight for the true faith," he declared. But their struggle was dangerous. One by one, their allies vanished. Priests who spoke too boldly were reassigned to distant dioceses. Letters went unanswered. Even within the Vatican's sacred walls, betrayal lurked. Yet they pressed on, gathering evidence, writing letters to trusted allies across Europe, and preparing for a final confrontation. Vincenzo knew that if they failed, they would not only lose their lives, they would lose the soul of the church itself. Cardinal Vincenzo's rebellion had grown into a secret network, a silent force beneath the grandeur of the Vatican. Letters were exchanged under candlelight, whispered vows were made in hidden chambers, and a circle of loyal clergy prepared for the inevitable confrontation. They were few, but they were determined. They believed in a church that served faith, not shadows. The day came without warning. Vincenzo and his allies moved swiftly. Armed with scrolls of evidence, letters, records, and oaths sworn in darkness, they entered the papal chambers. The towering stained glass cast an ethereal glow on the room, colors bleeding across the marble floor. Leo XIV stood at the window, his back to them, silent. "Your Holiness," Vincenzo's voice was steady, but beneath it was a tremor of desperation. "We know the truth. You were chosen not by divine will, but by shadows. But you can change it." Slowly, Leo XIV turned. His face was pale, lined with worry. "They will kill you for this," he whispered. "Then let them," Vincenzo replied, "but not before we expose them." Leo's eyes fell upon the documents Vincenzo held. He recognized the names, powerful names, cardinals who had whispered in his ear, who had guided his every step. He saw the seal, the serpent coiled around the cross, the mark of the hidden council. "You knew," Vincenzo accused. "Maybe not everything, but you knew enough." The Pope's shoulders slumped. "Yes," he admitted, "but I thought I could change it from within." Vincenzo stepped forward. "Then change it now, with us." In that moment, Leo XIV transformed, no longer a pawn, but a man ready to wield the power of his title. "Guards!" he called, but it was not a cry of surrender. His trusted guards entered, not the Shadow's men, but those loyal to him alone. "Arrest them!" Leo commanded, and within minutes the papal guards swept through the Vatican, seizing the shadowy cardinals. The forbidden chamber was stormed, its dark secrets exposed, records of blackmail, forged papal decrees, secret deals with monarchs. But the darkness did not die easily. Assassins prowled the night, striking at Vincenzo's allies. Brother Matteo, the brave archivist, was found dead, his blood painting a warning on the archive walls. Truth is a poison. Leo XIV walked a tightrope. Publicly, he denounced corruption, declared a return to faith's purity, and decreed the preservation of sacred traditions. His popularity soared, but so did the danger around him. The Shadow Council, though wounded, was not destroyed. Secret oaths were sworn in the darkness. Some cardinals vanished, others swore revenge, and one by one, the brave rebels began to fall. Vincenzo was struck down in his chambers, poisoned. Leo wept for his ally, but pressed on. He stood alone, but unyielding. The people saw a pope who defied corruption, who spoke of a purified church, but behind closed doors he was a man hunted. One stormy night, as thunder roared over Rome, a figure cloaked in black appeared in Leo's private chapel. A blade glinted. Leo turned, his eyes meeting those of the assassin. "Your masters are dead," Leo whispered. "Their time is over." The blade struck, but the assassin fell first, a trap laid by Leo's guards. Yet the message was clear. The darkness was wounded, but not dead. Leo XIV continued to lead, a symbol of courage and faith, but he knew the shadows watched. His sermons inspired millions, but his nights were haunted by whispers. If you want to hear more hidden stories of history, full of betrayal, courage, and sacrifice, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Uncle Luke Tells.